Here, game 3, match point for Machi Esports, needing only this game to qualify for the World Championship. Taipei J team. They need to try and do what Machi almost succeeded at, trying to pull off a reverse sweep if they want to keep their world's hopes alive. We were promised some unique picks from Nest. Well, it's do or die at this point, Taipei J team. You got to make something happen. As bans looking pretty much the same as what we saw previously, except J-Team having to ban out the Caitlyn on red side.
Having to ban out the Caitlyn again, but Gemini is on his own element once more on this Graves pick and has been producing positive results. What does J-Team decide to pick up on their AD carry position? Because if they don't, if they pick something else, Bruce is just going to fall back into the usual Ashe, which they've decided, okay, let's take it away.
All right, so they say, all right, Bruce, you like Ashe? Well, you don't get to play Ashe anymore, all right? You've played it, it was like the 5th game so far this weekend we've seen from Bruce. So have to see Bruce on something outside of a utility carry, as well as just a damage carry. So we might see him on the Ezreal. That's kind of been his fallback. Caitlyn being banned out, it makes it rather difficult. Showing the Kindred, though, immediately here from Taipei J team means they are looking to try and get as many counter picks as they can for Nest, as well as rest in the top side of the map, opting not to put priority onto anything, but PK is just saying, all right, I'll just play Ornn.
Yeah, exactly. At least we're not going to be seeing the usual Renekton anymore, but this also is shaping up to be, the usual of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. PK was on the Ornn earlier, and now Jhin has been the go-to on towards the bot side of the map whenever they see the Ashe on the opposite side of the lane.
So there we go. Jhin getting locked in. Jhin, of course, seeing a resurgence with the amount of Ashe being played in playoffs globally across the world. Now, though, for Taipei J team, they say, Rest, you've always been kind of on those just team carries, trying to go for those plays. Well, he gets to get himself the Mordekaiser to isolate that 1v1 when he wishes to, but putting a lot of pressure now onto Nest, and I have to ask, Nest, what do you got in the tank? What's left? I need to see something unique here, as the Cassidy actually draws a ban from Mission.
Insane. This is, the 3rd ban against Mission already. That makes it, 8 bans on the mid lane pool, which, okay, yes, it sort of restricts Mission to possibly go for the Syndra again, possibly go for the usual, maybe a Kali back in when they had to face against each other in the first series. And for Nest, unfortunately, even though he was on the LeBlanc, it didn't work out. He was on a safe traditional mage that he was comfy in. Orianna didn't work out. He mentioned interesting picks. Sylas was the only victory that Nesty is able to pick up when they went against Machi, and Machi is denying that away.
All right. We're going down the rabbit hole, it seems, when it comes to this mid lane pool. Orianna is still available. Maybe Nesty opts for it. Akali is going to get banned. I'm ready for Machi just to ban out Orianna and just saying, all right, Nesty, what do you got? What else do you have that you can play, especially if J-Team are not going to put priority on him?
Yeah, Machi still can pick up the Syndra unless Nesty, I'm not very sure if that's going to be a good idea. He did mention weird picks. What has been the history? It was Nunu mid back then. Morgana in the mid lane. Kiana actually getting denied.
I'm not a fan of the Kiana. From what we saw of Taipei J team, Nesty's Kiana was a little bit lackluster. They say, okay, we're going to take the Syndra, but this isn't unique for Nesty. This is a common mid lane pickup, so let's see if he can perform on it. Mission, though, gets the counter pick in mid lane, so we'll see what the plan is going to be here for Machi.
We've never seen Mission on the Echo yet, I believe, ever. So I think it is interesting. Okay, Corki is back. Spring playoffs champion Corki.
Of all the champions for Mission to just qualify for Worlds on, Corki is pretty much one of those champions that's going to happen. We mentioned yesterday we got to see Tanks Corki. Well, Mission, he is historically known for his Corki and Azir play. And now seeing that get locked in for Machi, this is a nice comfort pick for themselves. And then going for the Nautilus, going for heavy engage for Koala.
Yeah, it's on the checklist. You've got 2 meaty front lines, and you've got extreme range on the side of Jin activates his curtain call, and the Corki as well with a ton of poke and a ton of damage in the later stages of the game, which is again Machi playing to their element once more towards that scaling path. J-Team is going to finish this draft in for more pick potential with this Thresh.
All right, so have a little bit of utility there for Woody. Can go in when he wishes to with the Death Ends. Also has the Lantern to keep Lil V safe. And, well, this time around, Taipei J-Team, they're going to swap things up. Only thing we're seeing remain from the previous drafts is this Kindred for Hana. We'll see whether or not Taipei J-Team are going to be able to at least get a game win as they try and reverse sweep Machi Esports. Reminder, this, of course, is the deciding series for our final world seed for the PCS. Seeding actually gets determined by the grand final tomorrow, but for Machi, they were one game away for qualifying yesterday, but were denied by PSG Talon. Now, though, again, one game away. We'll see if Taipei J-Team can try and pull the PSG and prevent them from advancing.
It's definitely going to be tough. 0-2 start on the series for J-Team, and it's going to be incredibly tragic for J-Team if it becomes a 3-0 against Machi this series.
We'll see if Taipei J-Team can handle that mid-game spike. This Corki, this Jin, both looking to try and just blow up the carries of Taipei J-Team when they are given the opportunity. Machi, so close yet so far. We'll see whether or not they can close out the series here, make it a clean sweep over Taipei J-Team as we load on in for Game 3 of the night.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
And here in Game 3, of course we would start something like this. We haven't seen Rest, getting those emotes coming out. Usually Rest always happy to drop the emotes for the BM. Hasn't been able to really drop anything good, though, in this series. Finding himself now down 2 games alongside the rest of his squad. Machi, on the other hand, much more confident, it seems, in this series compared to what we saw with PSG Talon. And again, like we mentioned, take the game here over Taipei J-Team. You qualify as one of the 2 seeds for the PCS at Worlds 2020.
And it's insane to think, too, that, Machi just came off of such an insanely exhausting series against PSG Talon. And now looking at them now against J-Team being so incredibly clean, without, major mistakes so far in the later stages of the game. They were complete control for game number 1 and as well as 2. And on the other hand, you see J-Team. It looks they have worked incredibly hard as well, getting to this point of the tournament, especially when we look at their history. Spring season, 7th place, get knocked out on the first playoff series right off the bat, and now they get first seed for summer season. And to see that at this point of the game getting 3-0'd by Machi, it would be very devastating to see J-Team go in such a way.
And what a way, though, too, for Koala as well. Of course, Koala came over from Taipei J-Team during the preseason, and for him, getting to send home his old squad, denying them Worlds 2020, kind of being that one member to remain of that roster to actually make it back to the world stage after last year. And that was kind of the question that we had for Taipei J-Team. Spring, this team looked lost. Everyone had high hopes for it. Again, they were the first seed out of the LMS. The question was, can... Oh, Hana, that is not how you want to start off a game, by having a reset like that. The question was, could this team find a new identity with the departure of Fofo? Obviously, Fofo went on over to the LPL, and Spring, it didn't seem like they could. Summer, though, we saw Rest in his comfort zone, was able to find himself at the top of the league when it came to top lane performances, especially with kind of the absence of Civ for the first half of summer. People kind of said, all right, Rest is kind of the new king of top lane. But again, they decide to put him on something like a Mordekaiser, and it's up to the rest of his team to look for the carry as Hana goes over the wall into the river, tries to look for a play onto Gemini. Not going to happen as Nesty already roaming down, and this is a heavy commit to allow Hana to get his first stack on the Kindred.
Is able to secure that Scuttler at least, but and engage.
Lil V gets caught out, does have flash available, so he should be just safe there as Bruce not having that forced shot on the Jhin. Means he can't actually go for the execute. Gemini, though, is pathing, and Hana's just going to be waiting nearby, looking for a back, though, on the Kindred.
Is he looking towards eliminating Lil V, perhaps? But I guess that is not what Gemini intends to do, as he was searching for camps to possibly take away. But yeah, going back to your point over at Rest, I think the weight has shifted towards Lil V and Rest itself, considering that Nesty was the one that took the helm, took the place of Fofo after Fofo's departure, which, on the other hand, showed a bit of problems here and there when they went up against consistent mid laners and experienced mid laners such as Mission, because Nesty had to jump different hoops of roles from support, jungle, and now has to settle on toward this mid lane role. Gemini, though, looking towards ganking topside.
Rest gonna get caught out, but PK, again, if he's on near a wall and already used his pillar, he can't really get himself any CC there on Rest. We do see, though, Hana looking for a quick rotation in case PK wants to play aggressive, as that's going to be the hook on back. PK, though, looking for that 1v1. Rest gets that shield off immediately. Gemini nearby sees that this is happening. Hana, though, looking for this mark. Gemini, though, brings it back. We'll see whether or not Hana can actually go ahead and steal that. Gemini has an idea. Oh, it's an early smite. And Hana's actually able to steal it with a blind Q.
Nicely done, coming from Hana. Patience is a virtue, it seems, as not a lot of vision, as Hana is able to sneak his way into the inner portions of Machi's jungle. I think that's a pretty good deny, especially that Hana was one level below, so he's able to make most out of that engage or invade in the jungle.
So not too bad there from Hana. He's now found himself his 2 stacks already before 6 minutes. We are aiming to keep track of that and want to see about 4 stacks at about 20 to keep that Kindred on pace. He needs to actually get a kill here soon, though, as right now, the kind of scary part here is if you are a Type A J team fan and you look at Machi's composition, once you see Mission and Bruce both kind of hit that 3-4 item spike, things get a bit nasty, especially Gemini too. The amount of just upfront burst that comes down onto these carries. And it makes it really difficult if Rest isn't able to get ahead in lane at all during this game. Whoever he ults, if he ults pretty much, the only person he can really kill is Koala, maybe PK. If he is behind at that point, or even. Unless he's ahead, it's really difficult for him to kill Mission later on.
Yeah, I think it would be, like, Rest could be that solution when things go overboard on the side of possible and eliminate them right off the bat once you get them in towards the death round. But at the end of the day, we haven't really been seeing Rest create impacts in the entirety of the series. But at least when we look at J-Team now at the beginning, they're able to at least create some sort of pressure at bot side, therefore get that first dragon of the game.
And this is actually a little bit different. Usually Gemini is the first one to strike on the map when it comes to objectives, at least from what we have seen for our first 2 games of this series. So there you go. J-Team get themselves on the board with the objective. And Hana looking on a good pace so far here with the Kindred. See, though, Gemini wants to go for that invade and is just going to go ahead and take away that red buff. Looks like Hana's going to be a little bit late to try and do that himself because he's giving over the blue buff toward ST. So Gemini taking a little bit of the gold away from Hana in his jungle.
Definitely, and the fact that Mission as well has control over the map, or the mid lane at least, especially when we look towards, package timing and when we look at towards Rift Herald fights, and I feel like that's where Machi is definitely going to try to shine, and we'll see whether or not Hana is able to time the Lamb's respite in comparison to what we've seen in the previous game to deny any sort of early kills and escape after snatching the objective away from Machi.
Interesting here from Mission. Opted to not go. It looks like he was just short on cash to actually finish off his Normana for his second back there. Already picked up the call on the first. Did already go for that TP. Meanwhile, though, Gemini is aiming for this Rift Herald. And with Mission already getting to mid lane right away, Nesty still in the base. This looks like this will be secured by Machi, so we'll see if they're able to break anywhere on the map and try and accelerate one of these lanes to try and get to that 3 to 4 item breakpoint.
Yeah, so far good start at least. You know, Machi and J-Team doing the usual from game number 2, having to trade, I believe, half of the quadrant. Machi, happy for top side. J-Team, happy for bot side. We'll have to see, though, as Gemini is actually seen.
Gemini is seen. In comes that call to Forge God, but Rest brings him into the death round. Some decent damage, though, coming in onto that Mordekaiser. Does have the shielding, is going to pop it immediately. Meanwhile, Gemini looking for the 1v1 up against Hana. Really hard to do that. And Lil V's arrow a little bit late to the party as everyone goes ahead and disengages. And no one will fall here at the 9-minute mark on either side of the map.
Yeah, no one was in lethal range of that collateral damage if Gemini decided to dish that out. Therefore, Rest, Hana is able to at least escape, even having to keep their summoner spells. I think that is the best part about having to escape, keeping your summoner spells, but it doesn't change the fact that Gemini is still able to secure that Rift Herald. Curious to see where they're going to invest those resources on, because PK is on an Ornn, most likely want to give it towards Mission, possibly in the mid lane, or propel Bruce towards this Jhin.
Still rather quiet on both sides of the map. That Rift Herald still in the back pocket of Gemini for the side of Machi. So we'll see if there's going to be any shenanigans taking place. Raptors is up and available for Hana if he wants to go for that invade, but looks like the mark is just going to be easily defended. And I think it was already actually taken here by Gemini. And it kind of goes back into this quiet state that for Machi, for Mission, he's happy at this point. He doesn't care if whether or not he gets a kill in the lane, as long as he's even on CS. This Corki just going to go ahead and scale back up. And as long as Machi are able to keep themselves even, maybe even get some mid-prio, they may even be able to contest for this second dragon and kind of slow down maybe a soul win condition, because it is going to be both a mountain or an infernal soul for our third game here today.
Exactly. Machi is able to play into their element, play into their strengths, into a more controlled game, I suppose, and J-Team is just forced to respect all the strengths that Machi has. And yeah, looking back into the lane between Nesty and Mission, if you miss that Scatter the Weak, that is the go signal for Mission to just trade you even harder, and that's the reason why Nesty is poked out and hasn't been able to trade properly, as Gemini actually walks towards topside, is going to drop that Rift Herald.
So Rift Herald going on down. Rest going to try and do what he can here, but that is going to get sieged in. Meanwhile, mid lane, see Mission just getting a little bit of damage there on the Corki. Able to pick up his first turret plate and almost looking for his second, so that's nice to see here. Bot lane, we haven't seen a whole lot of action here. And the question was, you know, Bruce not on the Ashe this time like he has been for every other game this weekend. Instead, has to be on the Jhin, where he acts a bit more like a carry. We'll see what his impact can be once he starts getting some items online for himself. Looking to be a Stormrazor rush for his first back, as we are looking at a reset here just 30 seconds before our second Drake of the game.
So far, though, Arrow has been used actually towards Koala, so that Arrow will not be available for the next Dragon to spawn. I think that is actually a huge win for Machi. Now your options to start a fight, a Scatter the Weak or possibly a Death Sentence from Woody. Now Machi, though, has to respect that Hana is right there lying and waiting, but actually has first dibs on this Dragon Pit.
Yeah, they also have a ward down that will reveal that Hana is in the area. They also had a deep ward into the jungle of Machi, and that might be an option here for PK to go for a teleport. 3,000 health down onto the Drake. We'll see Koala, current call also going to be popped as they go in for the engage. Hana able to secure the dragon, but now all that damage going down onto Woody. PK
Koala
taking his sweet time, because guess what? He's lined up for a 3-man call to Forge God. Gets the knock up on ST. First blood going on over to Mission. Rest wants to try and answer here, brings Bruce Bruce into the Death Realm. Bruce able to get himself to safety. Rest didn't know which way he went because he didn't have vision. And Rest now going to get taken down low. PK maybe getting a little bit too close into the action. And that is going to be a kill traded back here. Hana wanting to jump over the wall, flashing forward. He gets exhausted immediately. And that's another kill and another assist over toward Mission. And Gemini, Rest going down low, gets himself into the shielding. And in the end, it's going to be a 3-for-1, but now teleport going to come in from Nestea. Mission taking a little bit too long. Rest may be able to get in range. GLP going to connect. Scout of the Week, though, isn't there. The lob over the wall does not connect with Mission. And it's an extended team fight, but in the end, Machi find 3 members for 1, but lose second Dragon on the map.
Wow, again, looking back on that, Rest could have managed to at least exchange off the AD carry, removing Bruce at least. But unfortunately, that was a 50-50 flash and is unable to guess where Bruce actually flashed on. And it all started with this curtain call. Koala was incredibly low at this point, and the Lance Respite was there to save people. But PK was ready to cut off J-Team's escape path, and that's the reason why they won this fight. Look at this. This is Bruce stuck in this corner, but Rest unfortunately guessed and preempted his flash, I guess, because Mission and the rest of Machi were already there, so he guessed that Bruce would have joined his teammates, but that was actually well played by Bruce as well to survive.
I have to wonder if that, I don't know, did the control wards actually go with you into the Death Realm? So Rest didn't actually get to know. It looks really weird when you get to see it out on the, overworld, you could say, here on the Rift, so that feels bad there. And this, I think, even feels worse here for Nestea. Commits both his summoners to try and go for a play. Mission, sure, he's down. But you saw there, unfortunately, okay, he didn't actually end up using Flash, but the Scout of the Week doesn't connect. Meanwhile, top lane, though, it is going to be Rest just instantly shredded. Call the Forge Call going to be used alongside the current call, and PK picks up the kill.
Machi is incredibly confident in this game. After winning 1 and 2 in such a convincing manner, they're just not giving J-Team any sort of room to breathe, and now they're just practically non-stop. If there's not an objective off of the map, they just try to find kills that they can get, and unfortunately, Rest is, I suppose, the #1 victim. At game number 2, it was Lil V and Woody Slade, and now it's Topsy-Turvy land, and Gemini is able to secure that second Rift Herald of the game.
Yeah, second Rift Herald being secured here by Gemini means they can go ahead and put more gold in onto these carries, maybe look toward mid lane. Lil V, though, in this matchup here, looking for the first tower, at least in his lane. First brick was already popped there on the top side of the map, so Lil V actually having himself a much better game compared to what we saw when he was on the Caitlyn back in game 2.
Is able to at least even it out against Bruce, for sure, as it looked very, very tragic at game number 2, just as you mentioned. Bruce, though, is able to complete at least the Stormrazor. And now, Machi looking to siege. Checklist ongoing. Top down, now they're on towards mid. And unfortunately, J-Team is forced to watch this go by, as wave clear options ain't really the best. I mean, you got that volley from Lil V. Nestea, though, has at least those Dark Spheres, but there's a lot of poke on Machi's side to risk being in that range.
So there we are. Second tower confirmed for Machi. Gets themselves some extra damage. Also see Mission now looking to stack up that Muramana. Has Phage in the inventory, so we're going to see that Trinity Force come online next for himself. Stormrazor completed for Bruce, as Lil V still waiting for that Essence Reaver. But now, look, third Dragon of the game. J-Team this time around looking to get deep vision into Machi's jungle, or maybe even look for a pick, because guess what Mission's doing? Mission's going for a little bit of a side lane skirmish himself. Is going to back off immediately, though, as he realizes the collapse comes in from Taipei J-Team.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more difficult to try to punish a Corki just because the Valkyrie range is definitely much longer. It covers more distance. Oh, no!
Oh, no. Here we go. Knock up comes out. Lil V gets himself back to safety. Current call comes out as well, alongside the collateral damage. And Rest lined up. 4-shot doesn't land. Koala now into the Death Realm. He'll take down the kill, at least himself. Pops the dab. And even with that setup coming out from Taipei J-Team, they actually didn't put any vision down themselves, didn't really have anything in their inventory, and now Machi claimed their first dragon and delay a Mountain Soul win condition for Taipei J-Team.
Exactly. We were talking about how J-Team at least has some sort of fallback on building towards that Mountain Soul, but unfortunately, having to be comfortable, be open and vulnerable right in front of a Nautilus is a little bit brave, or I guess a little bit loose on the side of Taipei J team, and because of that, they lost control over the Dragon and putting more gold on towards the key members on towards Machi, and it's not looking pretty so far in this game for J team.
And now you take a look at that gold gap on the top of your screen. It's almost a 5,000 gold lead here for Machi. When they themselves have the scalers, you have this Corki that now has come online with Trinity Force. You're going to be looking toward a Rapid Fire and then IE for the remainder of his build. Once that's kind of online, things get really ugly. Bruce is going to be slowly closing in onto his Rapid Fire cannon as well. And we're going to start Machi, which with a gold lead already, they're going to start hitting this mid-game spike hard. And we're just not seeing the agency that we wanted to see from Hana early on. We're not seeing a pick set up for Rest to carry on, except for maybe him in the middle of these team fights. Instead, he's going for this split push build when he opts into the Nasher's Tooth. And I kind of feel like it's looking a little bit dead on arrival here for Taipei J team.
Yeah.
Oh.
Speaking of dead on arrival, the Machi, the moment they set eyes on Rest, he just immediately gets obliterated. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned split push, but if you're gonna keep dying on the side lanes, I don't think there's a lot of value on towards this split push approach on towards this Mordekaiser. Look at that.
There you go. That's just that burst, because Gemini, instead of going into a black cleaver like we usually see from the Graves here in the PCS, he's gone lethality. He pretty much does true damage to Rest at the moment, because Rest only had cloth armor. I don't even think he had that when that dive came through. You have the Corki that's doing mixed damage to you. Rest isn't going to be able to do anything when he gets in close to this Corki or this Graves.
Yeah, we've seen a couple rather Mordekaisers would go throughout the, like, I suppose the Zanya phase. Machi right now have a lot of damage on the AD portion of things with triple carries on, well, I mean, Corki does mixed damage, but still has a lot to dish out in terms of AD.
Also note too, Corki already paying the QSS tax, so even if they get a little bit of CC from Lil V on an arrow or maybe a Sky of the Week, Mission can get himself back to safety. Engage comes out from Woody, but immediately is answer call to Force God going to land up, and there you go. Bruce finds himself a quick and easy kill on Woody. Is Lil V able to get himself back to safety? Says, all right, at this point, game over from Rest already being shown. I don't blame him. He's going to try and do what he can. In comes the package, though, into the Death Realm, where you brought Mission, and he just QSS's it immediately, and Rest gets taken down 9-1. Machi looking for this World Seed, and may just do it. In comes another engage. Koala able to get a little bit of damage and CC down on over to Lil V. Hana doesn't even pop his Lamb's Respite, but has to back off, and now Nesty under the tower has to be a little bit careful himself. His Mission was maybe looking for a play. But unfortunately, you saw that gold graph. Nesty being your lone member that has the most gold on your team, everybody else from Machi next to him or above him, it is doomed for Taipei J team.
Yeah, it's looking very tragic on the side of J team. And we were talking about having to deny any sort of kills with the Lamb's Respite, but he ain't even there. Hana is not around to sort of bait out ults from the side of Machi and then possibly look for another avenue to fight. But look at, even Rest is saying it's game over because Machi, every single lane, has managed to get that lead, not maybe in the lane, but in the over the course of the game where they're able to find fights that is in Machi's favor.
And there you are. A quick and easy pickup. Now nets Machi a 7,000 gold lead. 40 seconds now onto the next dragon. Pings coming out. J-Team realize that they're a little bit afraid of their own jungle. As Gemini just pops forward, says thank you very much for the drop. Don't mind me. Rest gets a little bit more sad. Hana too. On this Kindred's feeling really sad. Down 2 levels in this matchup means he can't really contest for smites. Maybe he gets a Miracle Steal, but going up against a Graves that has some decent burst. And Nesty almost getting hit there by the dredge line, but you can see that damage. Nesty, he's going to bring Koala You see, Rest pops his ultimate. Meanwhile, you got this Jin using Current Call. Call the Fortune Guard comes out from PK, able to not find a single knockup, but was able to get the slow down. Lamb's Respite comes out. But if you're on the side of Taipei J team, you should just back off. Nesty gets knocked up, had a good Sky of the Week, but still no damage because he opted into this GLP.
That's incredibly tragic on the side of J team. You can see their desperation move by having to put Rest and having to put Koala in towards the Death Realm, but J team not giving up just yet.
Woody gets that hook, but immediately has to back off. Koala gets taken on down. Hana is able to help find the kill alongside Lil V, but now Woody gets taken down, and ST, you're on the wrong side of the map again, buddy. PK finds himself the kill, and Gemini picks up the second dragon for Machi.
You know how comfortable Machi is when Gemini was just put on dragon duty while the rest, even though Mission was almost killed by Nesty's ult on the Syndra, it was still, they're so far ahead that they can afford to just collapse on the rest of J team's members. Now, Baron completely open, 19 seconds on the clock for Nesty, does have teleport, but look at that, Hana is going back. He's porting back to base, which means this is a free Baron.
Yeah, this Baron gets ripped apart. You got Training Force for that Corki as well as just the upfront burst. Rest maybe tries to find a hero play. PK actually is the one to secure it. Gemini ended up missing his smite. Does not matter now. Machi in prime position to start cracking open the base of Taipei J team as they sit almost at a 10,000 gold lead at 24 minutes. And you have to remember the story of Machi itself. This was a roster that did not have an organization mere weeks before the start of the PCS back in spring. Originally underneath G-Rex. G-Rex disbanded right before the start of the PCS. Machi were given the keys to this roster and support staff, and they were able to make it a turnkey effort. And now this team off just one push and making it 2 worlds if they are able to find it. Rest looking for a flank here himself, and he just gets bursted. Your front line can't even handle 3 auto attacks from Gemini. Hana puts down the Lamb's Respite. It only delays the inevitable, because just like that, Machi again bursts down this Kindred and starts sieging on the base of Taipei J team.
Now they're 2 men down. This siege is just going to keep hammering down J team's base as Machi still continues with the push.
And Machi now looking for the inhib. Lil V already popping the white flag. Nesty too close to the action. And Machi yesterday, they were 1 game away from Worlds. They were denied by PSG. And now are only 2 Nexus towers and a Nexus away from that goal of making it to the world stage once again with members of this roster.
Yeah, it's been an incredible run for Machi, but looking at this again, this is J team going for another desperation play. Rest just explodes from all the damage from Machi, and even though he wanted to create chaos in the backline, it didn't really matter because you have to bank on possibly a Scatter the Weak stun or a death sentence, but Machi is just way far ahead in this game. That's the reason why they can afford these types of just strong arming J team's base.
There you are. Push comes in. Rest gets killed again.
What?
By Mission. 16-3. Your kill total is. Baron buff has dissipated, but the damage is done here by Machi, as they now sit almost 11,000 gold ahead of Taipei J team and are looking to siege in this base. It's a sad beat for Nesty, but unfortunately it has been a sad showing by Taipei J team when it comes to this lower bracket final. The push gonna finally come out from Machi with the Trinity Force. They shred through this tower. Curtain Call looking to put curtains on Taipei J team's season at this point. Hook lands in onto Woody. He gets taken down low, able to get himself back to safety. First Nexus tower falls. Machi looked to right the wrong of yesterday. Nexus down to 1/3 of its health quite shortly. Call the Forge God into a 3-man knockup. Lands the fight. It can't save the damn Nexus, Hana! And just like that, Machi come back, make a statement, and qualify for Worlds 2020 with a 3 over Taipei J team.
A 3-0 finish, just as you mentioned. Even though they were so close yesterday, they're able to not only dominate this series, but cleanly finish it with a graceful exit and getting the second world ticket this year.
And Koala gets to lean back here. It's not a long day for Machi. As congratulations to the organization, they will be our second team representing the PCS on the international stage. Of course, though, seeding still has to be decided, and of course, we get ourselves another series between PSG Talent and Machi Esports to decide who is going to be our summer champion and who is going to be first and second seed when it comes to Worlds.
Exactly. Was it what? They've managed to fight for 22 games already between these two teams and can potentially go to 27 tomorrow if it goes to the long run.
Yeah, maybe looking for that revenge story up against PSG Talent. We'll see whether or not they can finally close out a series up against that team. Again, it was a long one yesterday. It went the distance. I think you're all crazy if you say that series won't go more than, 3 games. I expect another Game 5 coming out of those two organizations. But again, for Machi, I was worried about this team possibly representing the PCS when it came to the international stage. But if they are going to play like they did up against Taipei J Team today, I have a lot more confidence when it comes to this Oregon roster.
Yeah, I mean, J Team already sort of focus banned on Mission in the mid lane, and he was unfazed. Okay, let's just play the Corki again, which I played so many times also back in spring. And the thing about this series is that Machi is able to play to their element, able to scale and just move at their own pace. I think that's the biggest difference when we look at the PSG Talent series, is that Machi seems so rattled that they are always forced to adjust whenever they're up against PSG. But this time, if, just as you mentioned, if they play like this, if they are unfazed, if they just play to their win conditions, then they look a pretty strong contender when we look at Worlds.
Yeah, and there's still, again, the match tomorrow. And for Machi, too, they have to kind of run the gauntlet if they want to try and take the championship crown home for summer. MVP, though, for our third and final game, it's going to go over to Gemini, who had themselves a rather good showing on the Graves in all 3 games. Was a little bit worried we wouldn't be able to see anything else, but hey, they close out the series. Taipei J Team isn't able to punish it, and he's looking back to form to what we saw after the mid-season showdown.
Yeah, being an insanely consistent jungler when it comes to these strong carries in the jungle positions such as the Graves, very nice to see. I guess the biggest question is, what will Gemini fall back to if that gets banned? Because I think that was what happened in the PSG Talent series. So very excited to see, again, that very